Welcome, everybody, to our Wednesday work-life pivot, where we have conversations to help you during these unprecedented times with work, life, aspects of your personal juggling, along with the opportunities to look at ways to handle things in work, which is a whole nother way that we are required to work today. So today's topic is talking about how you as a leader or as a colleague can be a leader during these unprecedented times and empower team members to be their best. So, Dave, you chose this topic for our blog post this week. What inspired you about that?
Well, it's a good question. I mean, I've always had an orientation towards teams. I think that that's the way we get things done, really, is to get more than just one person doing it. It's not just in terms of energy, it's in terms of perspective. But what I think happens in these difficult times that we're in is it's like everyone starts to isolate a little bit. We're unhappy, we're stressed, we're confused, we're not in our usual routine. And as a result, we isolate and we take things onto ourselves when really what we need to do in this is reach out more. I mean, I need to hear from you. You need to hear from me. We need our team to help us understand what's going on. And I just think it's time to ring the bell a little bit and say, how do we empower our teams and each other to be able to withstand these difficult times, these difficult pressures. So that's where it came from. I thought,
Yeah, I think it's a perfect topic. And when I think back to a year ago, before we even had a hint of all of the disruption coming on board, I'm, as you know, but others may not know, I'm a board member of an organization called the Healthcare Businesswomen's Association. And every year at this time, we have our annual conference. So a year ago, this time, I was walking around the marina in beautiful San Diego, having
nice,
a chance to visit our son.
nice.
And then fast forward to now, and I'm very proud of the fact that our organization was able to do a major pivot and offered a totally virtual experience for 3 days. And so I sat in on one of the main stage, as they call it, events with four leaders of pharmaceutical, biotech, CRO organizations. And they were talking about how they're leading during these disruptive times.
Yeah.
And one of the leaders said, we had to do 10 years of work in 10 days. And that's
Yeah.
what expected of all of us. And the opportunity that this has provided, if you can look at it that way, the half full, half empty view of the glass,
Sure.
the opportunities that this has provided in terms of the way we work. Years ago, we had the book by Tony Schwartz, The Way We're Working Isn't Working. Well, now the way we used to work isn't working, and we have a new way of working. So how do we help if we're leaders?
Yeah.
The topic of our blog is 5 steps to empower team members to be their best. And I really like that title because it is about empowerment. It's about being clear in the direction you provide, but it's also expecting and celebrating the outcomes that the team members bring to the table, and also to be able to step back and hear them, really listen. That was another piece of the conversation today, was better listening skills. And what we've seen, and just flash back a little bit, especially with your work over the years, Dave, you have been a key coach for some pretty high level leaders. And so I think one of the things that is probably new in the conversation today, even though it's expected, is empathy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And, there's been studies that have been done in the last decade or so that they've actually been able to track the startling decline of empathy in our workplaces and in our society. And it has risen to our conversation lately has been about psychological safety. Amy Edmondson's is very, very important work, I think, on psychological safety, which one of the things that helps create it is empathy. And if we don't do that and we don't create the conditions for that psychological safety, it just gets worse and worse. We don't, it's like we sacrifice all of the benefits that we gain from a team. So that is the first step. I think that it's really critical that we do that. And then the 5 steps, if you want me to leap into it, number 1 is to have a common vision. We may think that we're all on the same page, but with all of the speed of change today, I can tell you every day is like a new start. So it's constantly reiterating and coming back to that common vision and getting people on the same page. And I've often joked about it somewhat, but I think it's really true. In order to get on the same page, we need the page. What's the page? What is it? Where are we going? Well, the book or the chapter. I mean, just hum me a few bars. I mean, it's such a mess every day.
Yeah,
I think that's one important conversation to have right up front.
Yeah, absolutely. And, and what we've done to help leaders and their teams establish that common vision is do team charters, which is an organic document,
we revisit the charter. We revisit it, frequently.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And then the next step is back to expectations.
Yeah. Expecting the best of people. It's what they used to call what was it called? I'll think about it in a minute. In other words, they did a study with teachers, and when teachers expected or had attitudes about certain students that they were handicapped, or they weren't smart enough, or they weren't as bright as the rest of the people in the class, they lived up to the expectations of the teacher. So being able to create and expect that best, I think it's so crucial and critical that we give people that ability to be their best.
It's the Pygmalion effect.
Pygmalion, thank you. That's driving me crazy.
Pygmalion study. And if you think you can and you think you can't, you're right.
Yeah.
And
if I think you can and you think you can, you're probably right too.
Right. But it's if you feel that from a leader that he or she thinks you can't, then guess what? And constantly trying to prove that you can and should be seen that way, which leads
we live up to the expectations. Personalize your approach. I think that this is really crucial. I mean, a lot of it has to do with vulnerability, allowing yourself to be open and transparent and sharing, and all those Don Tapscott ideas that are in his great
TED Talk.
Yeah, the TED Talk. It's just so critical to be able to be who you really are. Bring yourself to it. Don't try and be something that you're not. But as a leader, bring your own struggles and your own personality to bear, which has to do with leadership styles. And a great survey that we have, a great quiz that we have this month or this week even on leadership style. I forget, where is that? It's on our website?
Yeah, it's on our website, which is on the link that's scrolling across here. But I will also put a link to the quiz on this on the page here in Facebook, so that people can go there. And what's interesting is talking about personalizing your approach. You get an outcome of one of 4 leadership styles. Now, that doesn't mean that we don't need and we don't bounce back and forth between a couple. Because we personalize it based on the situation that comes up. But I think what's really when I think of personalize your approach, what has really kind of hit me over the head recently, and it's like the cobblers, kids with no shoes. It's like the Berkman consultants forget about the Berkman. We use it all the time, and how crucial. So the Berkman method, for those of you who may not be familiar, is our tool of choice. And it's outstanding in terms of what I think is really crucial at this point, is that we find ways to help people navigate the uncertainty and deal with stress. So you got a Mayday kind of email from one of your clients earlier.
Yeah, I've actually had a couple of them, and people are doing the right thing, which is don't isolate, reach out. So as a coach for them for many years, they're reaching out and saying, I'm freaking here. This COVID situation and being trapped in the house, and I'm not sure what to do or how to do it. So the Berkman really gives you some insights into how you can manage yourself better in these kind of situations.
And what I've heard, which I thought was so interesting, is one of my clients has said that she has a lunch date once a month with her Berkman. It's probably more now
Yeah,
because
yeah,
it gives so many insights into what motivates you and to help you with the stress, so that then you could have the tools and the information to ask for feedback.
yeah,
Feedback is a gift. And when we've got that gift and we've got that, maybe now we don't even see it because we're so thick in the forest,
yeah,
that we can't see the trees and we don't see the outcome. But again, on this call earlier in this conversation with leaders, they're starting to, they realize that there's opportunity because this will end. When? It could be another 9 months, but we don't know. And so it's the trying to stay ahead of it, not get lost in the forest, as I said. So we ask for how, the feedback is like a two-way street. So those of our teams who have the ability to say, like you said, I need help. I'm losing it here.
yeah,
But others could be very stoic and they're trying to show how strong they are, and then they wonder why
yeah,
they're not sleeping at night. All the
yeah.
people that are affected.
Over the years, I've worked with a lot of pilots, and pilots get this really well because when you're, 10,000 feet in the air and you're traveling 600 miles an hour, you need some feedback as to what the wind speed is, what kind of weather am I going into, how much fuel do I have? I mean, without feedback, you're not going to get very far. So I think it's true of today's world for all of us, but especially leaders of any type, with the changing nature of the atmosphere around us. You need feedback just to know where you are and how to get to where you're trying to go.
Exactly. And then with that theme in mind,
Mm,
knowing when you have to adjust the course.
sure. Yeah.
So,
It
as
doesn't
we said,
matter if it's an airplane or it's a ship.
yeah, exactly.
You have to adjust your course, or you might be heading for the rocks.
Well, there's a great book on leadership, Turn the Ship Around.
Hmm.
and,
Yeah.
and knowing at what point do you hold them, what point do you fold them, and
Hmm.
I
Hmm.
think the most important thing you mentioned is to reach out. When you're
Yeah.
starting to feel, I realized the past few days I've been feeling unsettled, and I think I put a handle. I sort of, put identified what that was last night because Thanksgiving is going to be very, very different this year.
Yeah.
That
For everybody.
yeah, nobody is going to come home. It's going to be you and me again, which is fine.
Yeah,
Thankfully,
we're trying to figure out how we get how do we get a small turkey? I mean, the smallest one you could find is 10 pounds.
it's about.
I said to Laura last night we'll be having turkey sandwiches for the rest of the year.
But I know I identify. Even though there have been years when our sons couldn't come home, it was an option that wasn't imposed on us.
Yeah, yeah,
This kind of uncertainty, fear, has created this inability to
mm,
understand what it is.
yeah. Even to make a plan, how do we plan for 2 weeks or a month from now?
Right.
I think you were telling me and I think Ohio just recommended that people stay home for 28 days.
Or it's a recommendation. So it's
Yeah.
not only going to be in Ohio where we are, it's going to be in several New York City
Mhm.
schools have been shut down as of tomorrow. But we
Mhm.
have less than a minute left, and I just wanted to circle back to the highlights of the blog. You can find it on our website. If you sign up with the link here, you can complete there are a couple of quizzes, but one of the quizzes on our website is the emotional mastery quiz, which I think is really interesting, kind of assess where you are in this emotional roller coaster that we're all on.
Mhm.
But as I said, I will post in the Facebook link here in the comments the link to the leadership blog, leadership quiz, which will give you an idea of whether your leadership style is that of coaching, delegating, directing, or supporting. And as I said, we need all four, but there's a particular one that is a little more specific to you. And there are follow-up activities to do with that quiz as well.
Depending on what the situation is, it's really situational leadership is what the idea is. And, when you need a coach, you need a coach. You don't need somebody that's necessarily going to be the supportive one. You need somebody that's coaching or directive or whatever style it is that you need to do that moment.
And it ties perfectly into emotional mastery
and the moment leadership.
Yeah, emotional intelligence, as we know, the leadership styles, the styles of emotional intelligence are linked there as well. So we are coming to a close, and thank you for listening. Those of you celebrating in the States, have a wonderful, well, we might come on next Wednesday. It's not there yet. So we might come in on Wednesday afternoon. Why not? We'll be home looking at our turkey. So have a wonderful week. And if there's any topic in particular you'd like us to cover around your work and life, just let us know. But thanks for listening. Till next time.